deep inside, my imagination is running wild with questions like, how much is a sperm donor paid in Kenya?
From 500,000 and above, that is just the compensation.
Squeeze watu wabai kitu ndani, that's the challenge. In fact, that's partly where the question is coming from.
I can drop direct.
Umeenda through hiyo nini yote, umeacha specimen yako hapo alafu hakuna mtu anaitaka.
How do you elect a sperm to fertilize an egg? Because I'm sure you don't pour them on the eggs ati yote hivi kama blueband.
Unapata umewekewa magazine.
A monkey has to be choked.
An assignment.
That donors don't have fun.
If it's the act alone, man, you're having fun, so
There's no extras that is happening.
This is one of those topics I'm always very excited to bring na kwa hii show na vitu napenda sana to vibe about. Tumesema in the first part of the show that conversation yetu ni wale wase VIP security, wanaitwa tena close protection, wase wa mtaani wanasemanga men in black. We are very glad that we are having that conversation leo na tumepata maboys. Acha niseme maboys wawili wa nguvu sana, wanaitwa Kingsley na Cleven. Wapi makofi yao? Asante sana. Karibuni sana kwa show.
Asante.
Maze mmetrain mpaka mnajibu pamoja. Hiyo ni tizi ama ni coincidence? Karibuni.
Asante.
Karibu. So, tuko na maswali, wase wengi wanajua hiyo close protection na public events ya kufinya wase. Most hizo ndio picha viral ziwenda za wase, si ndio? Na niko sure mmea interact na hiyo kitu. Na wewe kwanza vile wewe ni mpole, sijui kama ukikutana na mzee na anasema hey president, unaweza mfanyia hiyo kitu. Na kuna kitu fulani, one of my favorite ni sijui kuna ingine ya security, hii ni kierere tu, mimi na come from a layman's perspective, ya kuingiza mtu mkono hapa sijui unamfinya wapi. What if you break someone's heart? Hizo techniques zenye new tumia kuneutralize msee. Are you that well trained in biology? Like unajua body ya binadamu, unajua umse nikimfinya gallbladder ni hivyo. Are you trained in biology pia?
Well, it's part and parcel of the training itself, lakini tusisahau kwamba that is the last resort. There is communication, negotiation. Ikikataa hizo zote sasa ndio unaweza apply this kind of force, minimal force. Of course, the force will be dependent on the aggressor in this case. But tunatumia kitu tunaita HPT, human pressure point. So human pressure point, hata ukiwa mtu ambaye hujatrain kwa miaka mingi in any form of martial arts, is something that you can use to deter or to stop an attack to you as a security officer, na pia uweze kuprotect principal wako ambao unamprovidea security.
Na sio human pressure points peke yake, kuna pia allegations za new finya human pleasure points.
Ni part and parcel.
Sindio? Please, Kingsley, tell us something about close protection. Probably before turudi tena kwa Cleven, what is close protection?
So pretty much it's a facet of security. So basically, as we know, security is supposed to be able to make well of the three sides of it, which is security is able to detect, delay, and then defend. Yeah?
Detect, delay, and defend.
The 3Ds, of security.
Yes.
On matters close protection, we look at the principle. Ule mtu ambaye sasa analindwa. Yeah? So we tailor make it to suit three things as well: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So close protection inafaa isaidie the principle ama mwenye anataka wale close protective officers, CPOs, ya kwamba your principle are able to achieve objective yake on time, on target. So pretty much hizo zingine ni ma story, but that is the key thing about close protection.
So mission ni uomse tu aweze kuachieve this person to be able, your principle, to be able to achieve their target.
Yes, the objective.
The objective.
Yeah. So kama principal anasema anataka kwenda kukula lunch saa 7, you make sure hiyo saa 7 ameenda kukula lunch. And in order for that to happen, there are a lot of things that are involved, but pretty much it's just to make sure that the principal is able to be at the right place where he wants to be at the right time.
So basically is to ensure that the principal can eat and drink safely. Akwe mlevi na amani.
Among many other things.
Among many other things.
Yeah.
You told me something very interesting, that it takes 5 weeks to create 5 weeks to create msee akwe deadly in VIP security, your close protection. What does these 5 weeks, what is happening in these 5 weeks?
Well, took a lot of assessment training.
Assessment?
Yes, kuna physical training, theory. That's where you now learn about what close protection is, who a VIP is in this case. And just to add on top of that, VIP ni mtu yote ambaye, I mean, basically is important, not necessarily.
Important, yeah.
Hata we ni VIP, hawa ni VIP, anybody can be VIP. You can be, your wife can be a VIP, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, a politician that we are protecting, or including the president himself, right?
Yes, yes.
So in that regard, so you have to know what the VIP is, what our role or responsibility coming from security is to our VIP. Unaona. So first we must ensure their safety, that they are safe, they can achieve their deliverables to our field. If they decide to go to the rally, you make sure that the rally is safe and uninterrupted.
Yes.
There are those who like to go to churches. You make sure that the church process has gone smoothly without kusimamishwa kwa mbombo pesa. You see, that's part of tabia wa Kenya sana. And yes, and then we have to cover things to do with hand-to-hand combat. Very, very important for a close protection officer.
Krav Maga.
Yes,
that's very common.
and the reason why we do that, you see, it's not everybody that can possess a firearm, for example. However, utajipata kwa situation and places where you'll need to know how to handle yourself. Because imagine something happens today, like say, for example, the case of Dusit or Westgate. You are there with your VIP or principal in this case. Risasi inalipuka wewe unajikojolea hapo. Because you don't know how to handle the situation. So it requires you to be calm. And for that to happen, you have to go through that training. We also have a bit of tactical medicine, which is very, very important. And the reason why tunafanya hiyo inakusaidia kama close protection officer, should something happen to you as a security officer or to your principal, whoever you're protecting, in ensure you can do a few things to sustain them as you wait for example, ambulances in this case, or the police to respond in this case, whichever department has to respond to that kind of an emergency that you're having, wanaweza fika wakati huo.
Okay, and before we talk about tueleze about formations, these are the circles, the motorcade.
Yes.
A quick one.
Yes.
Ata kanisa in church,
Yes.
you always prepare for the worst case scenarios.
Of course.
Everywhere.
There are a few cases we've had before.
Kwa kanisa.
Yes, unapata mtu ameenda hapo amekataa kutoa pesa, mayouths wameamua kumvamia. So you have to know like what do you do in this scenario. Kama kuendesha pikipiki, utaendesha pikipiki na principal yako, panda pikipiki muende. If you have to get into a hotel as you try and diffuse the situation, a restaurant in this case, you can do that. So that's also important to know entry point and exit points of buildings that you might use in the process. Good routes that you must use, primary, secondary and tertiary.
So
routes.
everything you've described ni escape. So technically close protection is brave cowards.
Kabisa. In fact, we say in private security kwa close protection, there's nothing like revenge. Ati unageuka unakuwa Delta boy, unapaka sura black, unaanza kuhunt mtu. No.
Unaweza, but you don't.
We don't.
But
because
you can.
You can, but at the end of the day, you see, kazi yako ni kutoa your client or your boss or your VIP from the threat environment, uwatoe safely to their home space, or if possible, at the closest police station nearest to you. Because sasa they have now the authority.
Isn't that the best place to show your boss why he pays you?
No. Unless upendi kukula nyama, mimi napenda nyama.
Aya, sawa.
Yeah.
And what do you look for? And that's a question from one of our audience members, in terms of the qualities to choose someone to qualify for a gig, close protection. Okay. Number one, there's a very big level of concern from the audience member who asked whether you choose short people, and I can vouch for them, because in my understanding, short people have actually the advantage that they can reach most people's pleasure points without without a hassle.
Yeah.
What are the features that you look for?
So one of the things that we look at is the ability of that close protection operative to possess negotiation skills. Yeah, that is one quality that we require. Humility is also one key factor, because you're looking at a situation whereby you're dealing with crowds who are hostile.
So you basically look for things not found in short people: humility.
So it doesn't, okay, short people are not, they're not written off when it comes to close protection. You can be given a principal whose height is commensurate to. Yeah, so we look at that. So you can't deploy a close
Unapewa
protection.
mdosi mnatoshana.
Yeah, because you'd have to, especially when we're talking about evacuations, you need somebody who will be able to cover.
To bend while standing.
Yeah, to cover the principal.
Okay.
So in that case, height becomes a factor. But it is not the only factor, because as I said, the people you see with the principal are just but a team of a larger team that is providing the necessary security requirements to make that objective of the principal to be met.
Okay, so umesema negotiations.
Yes.
Skills negotiations, humility.
Humility, and then situation awareness.
Situation
Yeah,
awareness.
like right now, if I ask you how many are we right now, you'll start counting.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Wewe, if I ask you how many we are
Yeah.
in this room, you can tell that.
You want me to say?
Kila mtu hapa ndani.
Yeah.
How many?
28.
Top of mind. And that is standard. Ukiingia mahali, you have to know everyone.
Exactly. You need to know all exit points. You need to know where people are located. In case of anything, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. Where will I evacuate? Will I use this route as opposed to the other? So those are the kind of things that come naturally with time. But these are things that we look at. We don't just look at height, in the private sector. We look at the intellect. The most precious thing you can have in yourself is self-belief and your mindset. Everybody can become a close protective operative if they really want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa. And Cleven, this comes to you, but I believe both of you can talk about it.
Okay.
Your story of formations. You actually, that was a very interesting point. There's a reason why the motorcycles in a motorcade come in a certain shape. Sio kipindi tu, it's not for the pictures.
Yes.
Why is that? Why do we need to have a formation?
So the formation basically is dependent on the environment mahali mnaenda, the routes that you're using, and the people who you'll be coming into contact with. So that is what will basically define a formation.
Yeah.
So that's why. So the formation for Tuesday's inauguration
Yes.
was because they knew they were going through Githurai.
Yes. If you know that you're going to meet many people, of course, then your client will have to be in the middle.
Yeah.
Na nyinyi mtafanya nini? Surround whichever formation that you decide to use.
Okay.
But it should be where there's a possibility to defend in the highest possible way to minimize risk of injury or
Yeah.
sometimes, as we say, even death.
Yeah.
This is something that we have to consider in security.
So every plan you have
Yes.
is you plan, as in every plan you have,
Yes.
whichever plan you have,
Yes.
you plan for violence.
Yes, because you see, security today is not like security maybe 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody would have spoken about maybe, what do you call it? These things to do with the internet,
Yeah.
People, the same way we train a security officer, the person who wants to really cause harm is also training.
Yeah.
These people are very meticulous. They will get the plans. They'll get to know the people who are working for this particular principle, including talking to their maids, their gardeners. So it goes back to the very basic things.
Okay.
So for you as a security officer, you must also be prepared to be able to counter these kind of scenarios. And you can't do that without proper training, without good communication, between the team members, between you and your principal, because sometimes, you get information tomorrow, mnatoka, just right now. So you need to have very good communication, including where the principal lives and the people who work for that particular principal. Because the small things that cause really the major issue and problems in close protection. So
Okay.
to the smallest detail that you can get.
Okay.
So
Sawa sawa.
normally they say that a chain is as strong as the weakest link. So weakest link could be your phone. So when you're out there, probably you're wondering why you're just seeing people deployed outside the vehicles and inside the vehicles. As I said, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So there are assets that are being protected, up and including the principal himself. One of the things that people miss out is protection of information. Information is an intangible asset. So how do you protect that? So you need to know in advance who are the people that really associate with, who are around the principal, and be able to blend in so that you know what the principal would expect out of you. Yeah? Unlike what you see in movies where there's a lot of, kujuana mingi, nini vitu kama hizo. So it is more of keeping the safety of the principal, but at the same time, keeping yourself safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned for an event like Tuesday's event, the inauguration, you just don't have the security that people see. Even in the crowd, ule jamaa mnapigana naye moshene anaweza kukufinya your pressure point uitani. Like be careful. What goes into making sure that no one gets close to a president who is not supposed to?
Okay, normally we as a nation or any other nation, we are given mandate to first have our own safety in check. Sisi wenyewe ndio the first security line for ourselves. Kama unajua kuna mahali penye nafaa uende, unaenda. Mahali penye kuna restrictions, then you allow yourself not to go there. The reason why I'm saying this is that all of us have an obligation as citizens to take care of ourselves and the resources of the nation. So the first thing we do as close protection operatives is to blend in. Do a reconnaissance, visit those areas and see who are there. Because when push comes to shove, those people who are there will be, you want them on your side. So you want them to understand that indeed this event is going to happen in this way. And that is why you see there's a lot of advisories, there's a lot of order when the police are involved. There are routes where, vehicles will use, the people who are coming while walking and whatnot. And that is why there's that kind of, systemic, looking into this matters of close protection. So you need the people on the ground to make sure that the principal is also safe.
Okay. You mentioned in terms of an event, for example, you are very specific about, say, with an example. Let me say my neighbor county, my neighbor county, Ocha, Kisumu. Ukasema Kisumu, ukienda Kisumu, hata na close protection, you have to be careful. That's the second time tumeambiwa hivyo kwa show.
Yes.
Like, how do you know how deadly you are? Like, as a person, you've been training all your life. How do you know how a bad man you are? Kama if you cannot test your skills like place kama Kisumu. Like, just to show. like
Well,
just to be in the news.
I'll tell you one thing. You can never be too prepared. Yeah. Because you might have trained for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You're walking out there in the street, I call your name, you turn, I stab you twice or thrice. How is the training that you've done for these 30 years going to help you? Nothing, isn't it? You'll end up probably bleeding out to death. So it's always important to understand the region and the people you are interacting with. And I would say, I would go as far as to say that the reason why even most of us fight is because I feel like you're not understanding me, my culture, my beliefs.
It's like a form of communication.
There's no respect. And in that sense, you also fail to communicate appropriately or properly when you're engaging to me. Therefore, I'll have to use other measures to make sure that you understand me properly.
So a beating is communication.
Yes, so if you go to a place like Kisumu, for example, you'll find that there are men in black you meet in that crowd.
They are own men in black.
Or bongsa, that's how they call themselves. Huge guys.
Yes.
So the idea is when you get there, as we said, security these days is not about brute force. There's also finesse. So you can go and communicate with the guys, amplify their strength. If they have a lot of strength to stand in front of the line, then you create a good line. And just do your work. We are not going to interfere. In a sense, actually, they'll be helping you to minimize the threat. So you'll be using, you'll be providing security by environmental design.
Ah,
Yeah,
collaboration.
in this case, yes,
Nakurudisha hapo
collaboration.
nyuma kwa walking in the street and then someone calls you anakudunga na kisu.
Yes.
Kwani what syllabus did you do? 1,000 ways to die.
Well, you have to be prepared. Some
You
people
play
call it
every possible
of course.
scenario.
So wengine wataita paranoia, but it's not, and you have to be prepared for that. For example, even for you when you're walking out there or you're driving, you are in a matatu or whatever it is, you have to always be prepared, even with your small first aid kit. You know, marangapi wa Kenya, there is an accident, instead of helping, they are busy fast stealing. Lori ya unga imeanguka, it's the flour that you go for first instead of
So you should
assisting.
do first aid before you steal the flour. As in
Tupende kusaidiana kwanza. But ideally we should always be prepared for any eventuality. So prepare, plan A, plan B, plus plan C, plus plan D. You must always be prepared.
Isn't it tiring to have to live your life every day looking at possible scenarios that someone can die, and then sasa your life is now making sure that doesn't happen? Doesn't it get...
Yeah, like I can refer that question back to you. In a way, if you do something, you know, continuously, practice makes perfect. It becomes second nature. It becomes part of you. Yeah, and that is why you are very good at what you do, because you've done it over and over again, and you.
Is that an example or a compliment?
It is both. Yeah, it is both. Yeah, so you're good at what you do because you've done it, you've studied for it, you've done it countless times, and you keep on making it better. You know, they call it, the Japanese call it kaizen. You know, you're making everything better and better each day. So I believe 21 days of doing the same thing, the same way, you know, it becomes a habit. If you're used to writing with your right hand, and that is all you know, given a chance to use your left hand when your right hand is working, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to write with your left hand, but you'll write, you know, with some pretty much degree of difficulty. So it's just more of practicing it and understanding that, you know, security is dynamic and it changes on a daily basis. You know, the threats that you faced like 10 minutes ago probably have changed right now. So that's why we really trickle down in our training to make sure that we are able to understand all these angles, you know, play all these scenarios, you know, before they happen. So if you're able to mitigate this risk before it becomes an event, it is better for you, other than, you know, being reactive. So we forge for being more proactive other than being reactive.
So thank you. There's a lot of secrecy in your work. There's a lot of secrecy. Like, meaning I don't know how you can be a bad man and you don't even, you're not even allowed to know how bad you are. As in, I still struggling to wrap my head around that. Like, maybe you are, as in utajuaji. Number one, how to contain yourself in that. Like when you contain a threat, as he says, something bad, very bad was supposed to happen. You have to keep it to yourself. You don't get the credit, life goes on. Doesn't it bother you?
No, because at the end of the day, security is all about passion. You see, people come into security for different reasons. Some come into security looking for a way to sustain the family. For example, umetoka kwenu nyumbani, hakuna kitu ya kufanya, you decide to tell your family, wacha niingie jeshi, let me get into police. Ukifika kwa police ama kwa jeshi, you realize things are very different. Is this really for me? Then sometimes you realize it's not. Then you decide to go and become a vendor, for example, uze manguo, uze mutura, or whatever it is that you can do. So in security, really, it's ni kazi ya passion.
It's not about the credit.
And it's also not about proving something to someone. Because I know myself from the training that I've done that should something go wrong, I'll be able to contain the situation, get my client from there to safety, and forget about it. Imagine that I saved you today and then I remind you, mkubwa, unaona vile nilikutoa pale. You really appreciate that?
Kwani where did the phrase you owe me your life came from? There's a reason we have such phrases. You should apply them.
You know, you get paid. You get paid to die in close protection.
Wow.
Just as when you get into the security services, you are willing and ready to give your life to serve the nation and to protect the citizens of a country. Same applies in close protection. The only difference is maybe you are getting paid a little bit higher. So kwa wengine wanapata pesa kidogo juu wanasema hii ni mzuri, insurance iko up, until you really get into that kind of a mess is when you understand security is not what you think it is. And 90% of the work really inafanyika in the background, because the 10% you unaona convoy, you know, formations and all that is only maybe 3-10 minutes getting into a building, out, and they're gone. But a lot of work is done in the background in terms of, if I'm to go somewhere, I need to know where is my client going. If it's an hotel, I need to do, for example, sweeps, you know, dog sweep, depending on the profile of the client.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work. And if you feel, we say when you get into security, lazima upende hiyo kazi. Usipopenda security, it will punish you in ways you can never imagine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hapo ndo utasikia baridi usema isi yangu.
And you quit. And you say
quit.
something very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, you paid to die, technically.
Yes.
Yeah, technically.
How difficult is the decision of deciding to take a certain amount of money to sacrifice your life for someone?
No, life is priceless, you know, and that is why we advocate for, you know, taking the principle to the quickest, safest place. We won't remain there to fight. Yeah, that is not the aim of any close protection operative. That is the last resort. Objective being met means that the principal, as I said earlier, is able to meet his objectives of the day.
Yes.
So we take it a minute at a time, but at the end of the day, we can't put any value to life. You know, there's no amount of money you will pay me. That is why he talked about passion. Everything we do, you know, if you're a news anchor like yourself, you know, you do it with passion. So that, because that's all you know, and you, among many other things, that's something that you're good at. So, and I've seen in Kenya, many people, especially youth, they tend to try out many other things. But I say if you focus on one thing that you know you're good at, and then just, as I said, finesse, then you'll be good at it. Then you'll be that person who will be used as a reference point. So as I said, there's no price tag to life, but it is passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asante, very well put. And when it comes to VIP protection, you actually give nicknames. One of the latest I've had being thrown around is Kenchik 1. What is the essence of these nicknames? And when you give a nickname, is this a permanent name or it changes in a situation?
So we call it code name, see nickname, but code name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically the code name really is to protect the principle that you're providing security to. Because imagine if I'm saying maybe I'm Kingsley anatoka sahi. If it's in an open radio communications channel, meaning like any other set that we would use in an event or anything, I'm sure if you use those small radios, you'll hear some communication coming through. Then I would have exposed my client. So now whoever is planning to attack me and my client already knows my route, where we are going, and what we are going to do. You see? And as we said, also the guys who are looking to cause this harm, these are people who are very meticulous. In fact, I would say a timely business.
Yes.
I know from this time I'm going to breach security. This is what I need to do. For example, if I need to stop this guy, shoot him, explode, you know, if I'm wearing an explosive vest, explode away with him, anything that I can do. And then if I'm to get away, then well and good. If not, wacha niende na huyu mjamaa. So these are things that the other guy is willing and prepared to do. While on the contrary, you know, the guys who are now just coming in or interested in coming into close protection services, wanaona umevaa suti, umeng'ara, unaenda kwa beach, you're just opening doors and closing doors. They think it's that easy. No. And when ikifika sasa ni wakati wa kuingia kwa vita inakataa. Asema hapana, anatoroka. And most probably it's because you want to experiment with the work, so you get paid very little money. And of course, who is willing to die for 10,000, 5,000? You know, but because you want to be called close
Your death
protection
is
officer,
cheaper than your burial.
So we really have to, yeah.
Okay, so and when it comes to, you said everybody is a VIP.
Yes.
So what kind of gigs, are you limited in the kind of gigs you can take? For example, one of the most dangerous things you can do as a man in today's life ni kulala kwa keja ya dem yenye ulipangi rent. If you have a client mwenye akona pressing issues na anataka kulala kwa wenyewe, does this fall? I'm giving a very basic example. Do you choose the kind of jobs you take?
Yeah, it's a business, and that's why we're in the private sector. So we choose, but at some point we also give consultancy. We advise on steps to be taken, because as I said, security is supposed to be detect, delay, or defend. So in those three aspects,
Yes.
you'll find a way that you're able to talk to that client and make him more work, with the event that he wants to hire you for. So it's not just all about taking any other job, because at the end of the day, as we said, everybody is a VIP, but you have to check to what extent you're going to deploy your resources in protecting this particular person. Yeah.
Okay, now negotiations. Let's say you're protecting the child of a very important person, like a politician, like nyinyi ma boys, bana. Let's say, for example, someone wants to go have a good time and they don't want your security detail. You're behind them full time. So sometimes jificha, they escape, wanapotea, wanajificha. How do you deal with such?
Well, it does happen. But ideally ni mzuri always, regardless kama wanataka wakutaki hapo, you have to find ways to always stick around.
You have to.
You always have to stick around.
You follow someone by force.
Yes. However, I would also just go as far as to say that unajua watu wa security, kuna wengine wanapeleka their client in a bar, a restaurant. Wakati client anakula, wewe unaamua kukula. That is not permissible in
You're
the
not allowed.
industry.
You're not
Because
allowed.
then how are you going
You're
to
not
focus?
dangerous ukiwa umeshiba.
How are you going to protect your client kama na wewe umekaa hapo na fork na nini? Some I've seen they go as far as to even drink. You see, this is not something that is encouraged.
So the motto of private security, close
No,
protection,
you cannot
stay
be
handy.
under the influence of drugs. You cannot eat on duty. If you're to eat,
You cannot
eat before.
eat on duty.
You can't.
You can't.
Eat before.
Yeah.
Eat before you go to your duty. Make sure that everything is in check. Enda fanya kazi yako, maliza. Maybe now, once you're done with your duties for the day, maybe your client will decide if they're kind enough, wacha upatiwe chai, upatiwa chakula. But if you're stuck on that thing of eating, and there's also something we call small favors. Small favors is, for example, accepting money from somebody. Wacha nikaribia your VIP, because I don't know your intention towards my client, for example.
Yes.
Maybe you want to close some business, or you just want to get close for the sake of fame. Yes. Napenda mapicha.
Yes.
So they'll give you, wacha nikupatie kitu kidogo ni allow access. This is not something that is acceptable.
You cannot do that.
Because how can you guarantee? The moment somebody is this close, I can tell you from the experiments that we've done,
Yes.
all you need is 2 seconds to really kill somebody. If you're to stab, at least around 10 stabs will go in than 2 to 3 seconds. Na meisha. If nikiweka mashimo hapo, I might not be that experienced in stabbing somebody, some of them have that maze cob na msumari kwa hapo juu imefungwa vizuri ikafichwa. They'll come and just puncture your ribs. Sasa all of a sudden you have internal bleeding, you have collapsing lungs. Isitoshe uko na office ambayo hajui anything to do with medical stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, anaendelea tu kukula na kuzubaa, especially wenye mashingo zao zimejaa kama cobra.
Yeah.
They can't think. All they know to do is eat.
Now, what if you're eating before? Have you ever experienced a medical condition inaitwa running stomach? Running stomach ikukuta kwa operation.
Yes.
Are you allowed? Is it excusable?
Not really, but you see that's the whole reason why also in close protection tunasema one man job is not really recommendable. You can't do it as an individual, because what happens is, hata tuache with the question of running stomach.
Yes.
I'm walking down the street with my client. Maybe 2 or 3 guys approach me. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe it's even raining. Let's take the worst case scenario. They decide to push me. I slide imeenda chini. All it requires is 2 kicks to the head. One is you are disoriented. You see people moving like zombies. I'm sure you've seen this if you've watched different videos of violence. The second kick, kichwa moja has already disoriented you.
By the akili ni uji. So
Yes. You get 2-3 kicks. Really hakuna kitu hapo. Hiyo ni mwili imelala hapo chini.
Hata kama umetrain.
There's nothing. So that's why we say it's always good if you have 2 or 3 people or 4 in an ideal security situation.
Yeah.
You can recommend that. However, client to client, it will differ depending on their pockets.
Okay.
We also have clients who are stingy. Anataka security lakini hataki kulipa.
Hataki kulipa. They value their life but not that much.
Not that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa. Na hii kitu ya most common thing na close protection ni kukimbiza gari. Like mtu ametoka mbio nyuma ya V8, nyuma ya Prado. What's the need for that? Si you protect your client in the car, gari isimame. Ukitaka kuwa makanga, si ukuwe makanga. Wachana na close protection.
Those are very highly trained operatives on the ground. Running is part of, being able to, consume the environment. Yeah, the principle is in the vehicle. McHugh, they were in a vehicle. You've seen the motorcade, yeah. So you've seen it's not just one vehicle. The other vehicles. Yes. In one of those vehicles, they are the operatives that you see outside and running.
Yes.
So when they're outside there, the main thing is also to search the premise in case of any unlikely event.
Yes.
What we call in the private sector is, we call it HOT, H-O-T. So is there anything that is hidden for H?
Yes.
Is it obviously, illegal or harmful? And then is it in a typical area, a place where it can be hidden, let's say disturbed ground and whatnot. That is why they're outside there. And they're always communicating. So in case there is anything that, doesn't check out, then it is easier for them because they have seen with their own eyes, they're able to advise, and then necessary action is taken from there. And that is why you see them, apart from them opening the doors and whatnot. That's why they're outside. There are people who are searching while running. So these are skills that you also acquire through training.
Okay.
Because sometimes you'll face also people, maybe you're coming into a venue, and then you thought it was a friendly environment, all of a sudden it turns hostile. Like for example, you have chanting, talk hapa, we umbwa. So like the person who is outside can actually communicate with the guys inside the vehicle to evacuate the principal. As you try and control this crowd, kuna wale mbako wanaenda narukia gari. So you must be able to now control that. Without watu wa kukimbia inakuwa very, very difficult.
So even the security sector, where umbwa is violence. Like it's a violent...
But you see, that's why tunasema you have to be physically fit, emotionally, psychologically, mentally fit. Kuna watu wanatembea hapa nje but they're like I would say just walking dead, zombies.
Yes.
This very same person is working. Security is a very difficult profession. If that's what you want to get into. Isitoshe, you've dealt with your client and the people who have dealt with your client directly or indirectly. You get home, maybe, for example, we say if you want to join security, you must have a supportive family. You end up having a wife. Unafika tu hivi unaanza kuimbiwa sukari ilifanya nini, neighbor alifanya nini, nguo ikaenda huku. So you need a safe and peaceful environment at home. Maybe again there's a problem at the company where you're working in. So we really need to have mental fitness, psychological, physical fitness, finances, kila kitu has to be in check.
So your child does not get the, as in it also affects your children. Your children can't get bragging rights. Kwa nini? Baba yako anaweza piga baba yangu. Your children
wanapata, lakini I'm saying now, I'm speaking from the sense of kuna zile vitu ambao they can disturb you mentally, even sometimes emotionally. And this is a fact. For those who are married, for those in relationships, you'll come to know this. And this will also affect the profession that you choose, including security for that matter. So if you have people, for example, who are not supporting you in your journey, whichever journey you decide to pick, obviously it's going to affect the outcome of your service ukiwa kwa field where you're supposed to deliver. And it's not good when you meet your client and anaanza kuuliza uko sawa. You see that this is now not professional.
And then there's also the problem of for example, I'll give an example with something that we've seen on TV. We've seen Itumbi before in the previous regime being carried away by security who knows that Itumbi knows the president. Right? You watch the news. Unajua hawa watu wanajuana. We also have another case where the former prime minister Raila Odinga alikuwa anaenda kuingia mahali na security wake, the guy akaacha Raila ingia akasukuma watu wengine nyuma. You know these people know each other. how do you get to the decision that where wingi na wingi?
So I'll just bring you back to what I said, that information is also an asset that requires being protected. Yeah, for decisions to be made, it's not just made, from the blue. There has to be something that is been done. Probably protecting information on a need-to-know basis and movement on a need-to-go basis. Yeah, so you find that sometimes some clearances are required. Yeah, probably the former prime minister was going to a place where he's going to talk to some people, and probably that kind of information, wouldn't, to do harm when it is outside him. Yeah. So it is it's not that where he's going he's not safe, because automatically before any dignitary goes to a place, reconnaissance has already been done. Okay. But everything that you see out there is planned and programmed, because people know. Ni ile tu unakuta saa zingine watu wanataka kukua vichwa ngumu, anataka kuforce entry, but everything is planned. That's why there's protocol.
That's when you go for the pleasure point. When for example, you know someone.
Yes.
But they are not allowed to enter somewhere. Mnajuana, you know each other.
Yes.
Kabisa. Ni training gani ya hii kiburi ya utaingia na we know each other. There is a separation. Yes. You know hakuna kitu atafanya.
Yes.
Like you've seen someone with the president, like let's say you've seen someone with President Ruto. You know they hang out and it's in public. But hautakubali asonge hapo karibu. What's the worst that they can do? Is it because of the idea that someone everything can be a threat? Everyone can be a threat, Ama?
Of course, definitely. That's one way to look at it. The other thing is, as Kingsley has said, of course, information must be protected, and whatever is happening in there must also be protected at the same time. So you have no choice but to decline entry of these particular fellows. Okay. However, you see there's different ways that you can deny entry. I would say it's always good to communicate. Yeah. If it's people, if it's somebody who is in the security, they also understand protocols. If you communicate with them nicely, they should understand. If they don't understand, that's maybe now where you see force being used.
Yes.
To enforce the very same protocol that they're supposed to be following. So it doesn't make sense. Communication is always key, and you hope that they will understand and back off.
Manze, I see some people complaining on Twitter, the president has blocked them. I'm like, they have not met you guys. Like, you people block people in real life. na mkiwa na client kiburi, like client kusumbua.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, a drunk client. Is that training to slap them into soberness? As in, are there places where you get to use your training on your client for their own safety? As in kushikisha client adabu, as in
no. You see, really you cannot use force on your client who's employing you,
even for their own good.
No, because at the end of the day, before you accepted the role and the responsibility this client is going to give you, including their own life, you must have done your own search, know the kind of people that they are, what they like doing, how they like doing the things that they are doing. That way, now wewe utaenda nyumbani ama wherever it's your office is, you do your own planning. You know, as we said, you must have the first plan A, B, C, D, to prepare for such eventualities. You can always guide them out nicely and politely by use of many measures.
Let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario.
Okay. Yes.
You are trapped somewhere with a president. No, let me say the president or another year. You are trapped somewhere with a president. And it's only two of you. I've watched too many movies, so saa ingine ziuni affect. And the president is screaming like a baby. As in, there's no we wacha ujinga. As in,
no, actually
you cannot be the bigger person.
No, basically it is, if as a close protection operative, it is in your docket to make sure that your principal is calm. Yeah, and that is why he was talking about your mental state. You have to be calm in all situations. So if you're calm as a close protection operative, you're giving confidence to your principal who you're protecting. But ukifika huko hivyo, they wanasemanga believe in your training, but imefika hapo umeanza uoga, wewe ndio una scream, then what do you expect the principal to do? Anasema this person should be trained, what's happening? Then ana panic. So in most cases, in such kind of scenarios, you have to be calm. When you're calm as a close protective operative, your principal will also be calm. And then now you can be able to communicate and talk to him in a calm way. telling them the options that he can choose from.
And just to add on that, you see, in close protection services, or just generally in security, we must expect crisis of some sort. And one thing that we must know that people react differently to different situations. There are those who get shocked.
Yeah.
You know, they can't understand what is happening. There are those who have disbelief. You can't imagine that this is happening to you. Me, I came shopping. Now there's a firearm. You know, there is that. Okay. Yes. Then you'll have people who like to shout and cry. There's also that hysteria. You know. And then you have those people with the stampede to kazi yake ni kukimbia kama buffalo. Left. Unaona uko nyuma. Right. Wapi huku. So, and most probably these are the ones who end up dying. The ones that like running left, right, center because wako huku left, wako huku kule. These ones and the ones who like to shout and scream. Yes. So to counter this, of course, for you as a security officer, you must be calm. Sometimes you'll go as far as to even, you know, this is where you'll now try to bring out the leadership skills. You give people responsibility. Because when I give you a responsibility now, for example, call this number, tell them A, B, C, D. Yes. You have got no choice but to start calming down to communicate what is happening, whether it's a crisis or whatever it is, including if it's a family that has been, for example, there are burglars in the house or thieves or something like that. If I give my wife the responsibility, for example, you call the police, children, you call this ambulance, you do this, you do that, it's going to
calm the situation.
Calm the situation, and in a sense, you have control of the entire situation.
So in close protection training, in the communication, topic of communication, you also have to learn nursery rhymes.
You have to. Negotiation pia is key. We say, ukikutana na wale ambao they like fighting, this cannot be a very good businessman. You must negotiate yourself out of the crisis. Ikikataa, imekataa kabisa. Now this is where now your training should come in. However, how many of us train, like, for example, martial arts every day? Not many. Yeah. How many of us carry firearms? Not many. So, and that's why we brought in the element of HPT, the human pressure point. So these are the little things that if you know, if you're a lady, you're walking around, or a man who feels weak. And you know, generally, ndio mtu akuattack pia na kuangalia. They must study you. Nikiona huyu ananikalia anaweza piga ngeta, wanakuzunguka na kusoma vizuri, shingo ndio wataweka python. By the time they release you, you've got no choice but kuanguka tu hapo.
So choose your victims wisely. Basi, just a tip. Just a tip, Kingsley. For the general public, you've said something very important, that before you fight, there are other stages come up, pressure points. Yes. Can you tell us a universal place, and this can help, this can go a long way to save people from fighting. Is there a place where you can just press? Place tu unaweza finya, place universal. Ukifinya tu hivi mnaheshimiana. As in, you don't have to go the whole way.
No, it differs. You can't say that there is a universal place that you can just press and somebody collapses. People are different.
Not collapsing, just the feeling of respect.
Every part of the human body, if somebody is, healthy, you have your senses. Yeah. So every point, every point, every level in your body, can receive some signal of pain. That will register. But the essence of us using that way of pressure point is not to harm. It is to distract and get the principal to the quickest way to safety. So there are many areas. I think, Cleven, you can shed the light.
And just one for entertainment.
I'll give you several. Actually, there are many pressure points in the human body.
Yes.
So many that you can't even imagine. If you start standing right here is when you realize a human being is so weak you can't even believe it. However, there are 3 major points that we look at, and those are what we call 10. So T standing for throat.
Apa?
Yes. E standing for the eyes.
Throat ni ya kierere.
Yes.
Stop the speaking.
You've got the throat.
Yes.
You've got the eyes. And most importantly, you've got the groin or nuts. The N stand for the nuts. Now, the reason why to pick is out of the many available pressure points in the human body is that Irregardless of whichever position you find yourself in, including if you're, for example, a female close protection officer. Sometimes a man might deem you weak. Okay? Wamekutega chini wamekuweka. Maybe they want to even rape you because it's more like now a question of punishment. The eyes are available to you. The groin is available to you. And the throat can also be available to you. Because remember, for this person to rape you first, they must grab you with one hand. Ndio mkono ingine fanya nini? Ifanye kazi. You can actually get out one of your arms, uingie kwa macho, uingie kwa throat, uingie kwa the groin. And
so hizo ndio training za ile 5 weeks.
Yes, including kama mtu amekushika ngeta.
Yeah. So hata ukishikwa ngeta unaweza jitoa.
Yeah.
Biting is also part of the process.
Even biting, you know.
No, I thought biting is for cowards. As in, tukifight shule sigwambwa, huyu anaumana.
I would give you an example with someone who can sacrifice themselves to come and stand here, then you see.
A demonstration.
A demonstration. Like
Deno, come, Deno. Deno is our...
Yes.
Mikey ni director wetu ni deadly sana. I know he'll get us a shot.
Yeah. So now, if we look at my friend here, let's start with the general pressure points before we get to the 10 that we are talking about.
Yes.
You've got here, in which case if you have good boots with strong heels, you can step there, and that should be able to release you, especially for people who like to grab from behind. You've got this point. So with good shoes, you can get your point across there. Uko na hapa the inner part of the thigh. I don't know if you've seen even Muay Thai people, they like kicking in here. Okay?
Yeah, or UFC.
You've got the outer side of the thigh. And just look me placing my leg. The demonstration is and of course, we've got the groin area. Then we have now this. This is where we have the bladder,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes.
So you can just. You have that. You have the solar plexus ama kahasho. Uko na vidole unaweza control, wala anapenda kufinya ngwe. Hii kifinya chunga kivunjike. You've got the armpits. Okay? Uko na hii. Yenye rafiki yangu alikuwa anaongea. You have the throat. Okay? And in this case, I'm not going to like choke you like this. Okay? All I need to do is just put my 2 fingers there and I'm able to deliver. At the same time, you have the ears. Also, it's part of the pressure point. If you can strike both of them,
at the same time.
You've got hii kitu tunaita discombobulator hapa. Hiyo pia unaweza gonga. Uko na hii. This bit. Okay? Uko na mapua na uko na macho. So out of all this, we said we focus on the 10. So the 10 now would be, in this case, be the groin, the throat, and the
eyes.
And the eyes. Say he grabbed my coat like this. Mi sina na maneno. You see, the first step is I have to get into good position.
Your stance.
Niweke mikono zangu hapa. The reason why naweka mikono zangu hapa, this is what we call damage control. Kwa sababu najua pengine anaweza nipiga ngumi, but because my hands are here.
Asiaruwe suti na imeombwa.
So from here, I can go to the throat, isn't it? Yes. I can slap both ears. I can go to the eyes. Sini kweli? And you'll still be able to deliver. You can knee hapo chini. Haijakata. Or you can pia fanya namna.
Asante
So
sana.
those are just
Wapi makofi yao? Asante. So that should help in case mtu amejipata kwa noma for self defense.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you did not mention one of the most important one. I think that works with a relationship setting. Tickling.
that won't work.
Tickling cannot work.
No.
Even if
No.
The thing, what happens is, you see, in danger situation,
cannot laugh.
not laughing. We have things that take control of our body, and this is one we call the chemical cocktail. So chemical cocktail, under chemical cocktail, you have things like adrenaline, you have cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and I'll explain to you why. In some instances, I'm sure some of you, if you've experienced it, unajipata unapigana na mtu, and then you realize unakimbia kama Bolt. You say, is it me that I've run 7 kilometers? Bila kupiga stop.
Yes.
It's because, you have those elements. Or sometimes you're tiny,
yes,
but you end up fighting like a giant. You see? So in that case, and the adrenaline is also there. It's very difficult to now say, for example, I'll tickle you, because my mindset is not in those jokes. My mindset is now on survival mode.
Oh, so when you get bitten,
Yes.
tell me if this is accurate to say,
Yes.
anytime you get bitten, it's your chemicals that failed you.
Not necessarily, because you see, tunasema, for any fight that happens, you have the, of course, there's a freezing point, and then the action is also is either going to be running or fighting, fight or flight. Yes. So if the adrenaline levels are too low, I don't want to freeze in a spot for a very long time, and this is when maybe somebody can do a lot of damage to you, right? And then if it's too high, maybe you are hyperreactive. So you need to find a balance in between, ndio uweze act properly.
Sawa sawa.
Yes.
Asante sana. You guys, before we let you go, first of all, both of you have your own companies.
Yeah.
You are, let me call you employers. So you can tell us about your companies and each of you and how you work together. Alafu, number 2, most importantly, if someone was looking for employment in the close protection sector, how do they go about it and how do they get in touch? Tuanze na Kingsley.
So I'm the director of Crime Shield Security Limited.
Crime Shield?
Yes. So you can find us on our socials at Crime Shield Security Limited. Our website is www.crimeshield.org. So in case somebody is interested for the training, they can drop us an email at info@crimeshield.org.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do not only train for bodyguards, but we have an array of services that we do. Collaboratively, we do training and deployment with Cleven, and we are 2 years, right? Yeah, we are 2 years, working together.
Okay, so you do recruitment peer,
Yeah.
you do interview people who can actually fit into
Yes,
close
and
protection.
actually, Crime Shield's mission is to impact, especially the youth. And security is one way of implementing that facet by enabling any other person who has the interest to know about security and even earn a living out of it.
Okay.
So that is why we do that kind of training. So we try as much as possible to collaborate with counties. Sometimes we do training even for at schools, and all these places. So yeah.
And now that you've actually mentioned the youth and security in the same department, maybe you should actually add another one, safe sex. Cleven, tell us about you and your company. Yeah.
Well, by name, I'm Cleven Langi, director at a company called K9 Alligator Security. And as he said, we also provide a wide array of security, dogs, guards. I don't like to call them guards, I call them security officers.
Yeah.
Because they are well trained, they understand their job. We've got smart guarding solutions as well. The world has changed now, we are into a lot of internet stuff. Yes. So your security must also be tech savvy. We have close protection officers as well. But it's a wide array of services, really. Yes.
And how do people get in touch for people interested in working with you?
They can visit our sites. They can send an email or visit our website, k9alligatorsecurity.co.ke.
Okay.
They can send an email to k9alligators@gmail.com or to my personal mail, clevin.langi@k9alligators.co.ke.
Okay.
Yes.
Sawa sawa, asante sana. And me notice Cleven ana smile sana, si ndio? Does this apply even ukiwa operation, like ukiwa kwa ground? Like is there a standard facial expression in your job? This is also a question from one of our audience members.
Well, obviously at work you'll need to be serious, but then again I'll refer back to when you know what you can do and your capability. You don't have to be fierce like a lion. Yeah, you can have the laugh of a hyena, but the sting of a bee.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Asante sana. Wameweza ama wajaweza? Very good vibes, ndio? Mazee, asanteni sana kwa kamsho yetu. Karibuni tena na tena, at least tumeongeza database yetu ya security experts. Mazee, mmekuwa very good vibes. By the way, mnajua tumeongea for over 1 hour for hiyo.
Really?
That's very, very good vibes. So hapo makofi yao. Asante sana. That's it for the weekend edition. See you next week. My name is Dr. Kingori.